Howdy, y'all. If you know me, how's it going? If you don't, my name's Rob Stager, and this is gonna be, hopefully, one of many videos where I talk on various topics. Most of them I'm hoping to be gaming, but whatever seems to be the main want. This video will be tackling a small sliver of Dungeons and Dragons, the wonderful role-playing game. I'm assuming that most of you, since you're here, you know what Dungeons and Dragons is. If you don't, I have a little cliff notes on what it is. It's a tabletop role-playing game that has taken most kitchen tables by storm in this renaissance. It was first created by a man called Gary Gygax. It was first published in 1974. It's gone through many iterations, the most recent being 5th edition, or what a lot of people actually refer to 5e. That's where I learned the game and actually played most of it. I haven't played any 3.5 or anything like that, but over the past 4 to 5 years, I've been playing 5e pretty religiously. And learning as much as I can. This edition, 5e, is arguably where Dungeons & Dragons gained most of its followers because of the player-friendly rule set and the large groups that have started streaming on Twitch, like Critical Role and High Rollers, making it more of a popular thing that a lot of people are playing. What we're going to be tackling today in the wonderful world of Dungeons & Dragons, a thing that DMs struggle with a lot. It is how much you actually want to be improv and how much you want to plan for the session itself. So improv, most of the time it's in the setting of theater. That's when most people use improv, but a lot of role-playing is improv. Because as the DM creates these worlds and creates these settings, the players react to it. And through that, they bounce off each other in creating whatever stories you tell in the future. And it's very important for a DM to not be an expert at improv, but have stuff that they can grab from very quickly to make these reactions to the various things that the players want to do.
File's done.
Improv creates a lot of characters that the players get involved with, a lot of enemies, even themselves, and other NPCs, which create iconic characters in your campaign. Through my DMing, I have kind of signified two different types of NPCs that, whether it's related to improv or planning. The first one is the top effect. I'll be going more in depth on these NPCs once we go to an improv-focused video, but Top was a wonderful gnomish artificer that one of my players actually ran into when they were studying to find out more about demons and whatnot. And so he was created out of a role, and it made this iconic character that they have brought with them through all of their adventures in the campaign, creating a lot of funny interactions and a lot of deep conversations between the character who found him and Top himself. The next type of NPC is related to planning itself. I have a NPC of the same campaign that is very iconic in the party itself. Her name is Nofret, and I planned her from the start, and they would meet her, and because of the way that they reacted to her and how she reacted back, she was a loved character that continued throughout the whole campaign. Planning is a hard thing to actually figure out as a dungeon master because you don't know how much the players will actually do that you plan. One thing you should mostly learn as a dungeon master is that It is not guaranteed that your players will do exactly what you want. You may plan this whole expedition where they go through this dungeon that's part of a hidden trapdoor, that's a part of a shop that they run across. But they might go into the shop, and the cues that you give that might catch their eye, they might say no. And so that those hours that you spent planning are gone. For that instance, an important thing to do is to not get discouraged in these situations, because you can use these things that you planned in many different situations. You can use the dungeon that you created for a random encounter, and don't take it to heart when they don't explore these areas, meet these people that you have planned for, because it's not their fault. They don't intend on it. While you're planning, it's good to have an arc in mind. An arc is basically an overarching story that you can keep going until they defeat the big bad evil guy that they run into multiple times throughout the arc itself. The most important part of the arc, in my opinion, is the hook, because that's what gets the players into it. Make your evil guy compelling. Make the situation that the big bad evil guy created something that their player characters will strive to complete, that they will strive to defeat this creature because they have either killed one of their family members, has a friend captured, has their city under siege. These things will keep the characters from ignoring it. Another important part of planning is to have a distinction between what you want planned for the whole campaign and what you want for the session. If you want to plan most of it, put it into the session. But also have a place in mind where they get to certain points in the campaign, where they will defeat the big bad, where they will start, as I said before, of the arc, but also milestones that they may get to. You'll be able to track their progress and help yourself plan even more. The great part about Dungeons & Dragons itself is that it is a collective storytelling game. You as a DM and the players work off each other throughout the whole campaign, and you tell a story together. It's quite hard for you to just make the story by yourself, because you need them to fuel it. They are the fuel of your fire, and without them you wouldn't have anything. So you need to work with them to create this story. Now, this can be very important because you need to know what they are expecting from the campaign itself. Whether they want a very story-intensive game or more of a hack and slash where they go into encounter after encounter. Sitting down and talking with your players on session 0, or even just sending them a message before you start session 1, and getting on the same page on what you both expect from the campaign is really helpful for you, because then you know what they want and you know how to work off of what they're going to react to. Coming back to how your players are actually the fuel for your fire, use their reactions as crucial points to create story. Jump in at random moments and throw in random plot hooks. Being a reactionary is very important, and it keeps the session and campaign going. Even if you don't have anything planned, you don't have to instantly go to improv. I'm not trying to say that you should solely rely on improv in your sessions, but on the fly, it is a very useful tool. If you need to, say, hey guys, I need a couple minutes to figure out what's happening, or they say something to an NPC, say, I need a couple minutes to figure out what they're going to say back. Your players hopefully will be understanding, and if they aren't, then that's another whole monster that you have to tackle. Creating a story off of their actions is an amazing thing that can happen in Dungeons & Dragons itself. Being able to create even another arc off of one small action that your character does, it makes their actions feel real in the fantasy world that they are in, and it can give them even more of a motive to complete the arc itself if they are the reason why it started. For example, if your party is walking through a swamp and they see a random woman being attacked by Shahugan or fish people of the like, and they decide to ignore her, which is definitely possible even no matter what campaign you're a part of, and she ends up dying, it could end up that she was of noble blood and her family is searching for the ones who ended her, and witnesses show a group of adventurers ignoring her cries for help, and it could cause conflict between them and that noble family. Or another way, they're going through a dungeon and there is an artifact that they take and they sell it to a random merchant without even looking at what the magical item could encompass. This could end up having a demon housed inside of it and the marketplace patron releasing it, causing chaos across the land. And you can show your players that their actions have consequences. And honestly, that may be something that they really enjoy. Now this is what this whole video has been leading up to, is this balance that DMs strive to get to. As I said before, it really depends on what your players are expecting and what they want in a campaign. Over time, you find that middle ground, that balance, and through my work as a DM, through my play, I've found out that I work best planning only a little bit, main points, cliff notes that I can grow off of. And maybe that's not your style, but it is a way to try to DM. Make main points, say that they make it to, for example, Westrun, and they meet these people, and they are there for this reason. Now, if you just have that, you can throw in things throughout the session, mini encounters, NPCs that they may run into that can create a more in-depth story, that can create storylines, those kind of things. Another thing that helps you find this balance is if you want a more heavy planning side, but you don't want your hours of planning to go to waste if they don't run into it. Take a good amount of time planning NPCs. This will give you a group of NPCs that you can access that you'll be able to use when you need to throw in an NPC at random. Say that they walk into a shop and they ask for his name. Well, he could be a retired wizard that lost his spellbook a long time ago and is looking for anyone to find it for him. These kind of NPCs are really good to have and can help make your DMing time easier. Another important thing of this balance is finding out how much improv you want. I personally don't believe that you can 100% plan and everything will happen exactly according to plan unless you are playing a railroad type of campaign. I will get to railroad versus sandbox game styles in the future. But a railroad game is where your players don't deviate from the main arc a lot. They don't go to random caves. They don't do these small side quests. They only focus on the main quest line, which is totally fine if that is what they're expecting. A way to find this balance is to deviate the amount that you improv. Playing a certain amount one time, improv the rest. You could even try out just improving it entirely, and that could lead to a lot of hilarious stories and amazing times that you have with your players. From my experience, improv creates the most memorable experiences in a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. It creates a lot of funny interactions, inside jokes, and just amazing times that you have with your players. But nonetheless, planning itself can create these moments as well, these goofy characters that they can run into. That's why it's important to have a little bit of both. Having entirely one, entirely the other is totally possible, but each technique has its own strengths and own weaknesses, and you should take advantage of them. because you can create an amazing story every single time, whether you've found your groove or not. But once you get there, it's rewarding and it's amazing. So I implore you to try to find this and work with your players so then you can find the middle ground yourself. So you can feel more comfortable DMing and you can feel more comfortable telling them the story. Well, that's all I have for this small video of improv versus planning. If you want me to go in depth on one of these topics more and more, comment down below, and also give me more topics you want to have me talk on. If you want me to talk on different classes or a different game entirely, let me know. And thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.